of skill sets as it relates to that. And so they're perfectly happy sort of saying, okay, this person's coming along and telling us we're going to do this and this and this with your property, and potentially here's this big pile of money that you're going to have at the end of all of this, and that may be sufficient.
So what's their promise? Stability, or the property itself after a certain amount of years, right?
But I'm sorry, what?
Like from a developer standpoint, coming to a family that owns the land, right? Like pretty much you're leaving the building to them after a certain amount of years.
Not necessarily. I mean, once again, that depends on the deal structure. You could have it, once again, set up to where at a certain point in time you agree to a buyout of the actual underlying land. Or you could just do a long-term land lease. You know, and it's not uncommon, you know, in a lot of places to simply say, okay, like a lot of government institutions and universities do this all the time, especially with like apartment communities that like universities say, okay, we want a new dorm built. Well, they will, in essence, say, okay, we're not going to sell you the land, but we'll do a 30-year ground lease on the land, and then ultimately over that 30 years, the developer makes payments to the university for that ground lease, and then maybe at the end of the ground lease, then yeah, the university walks away with the property. So there's so many different ways to structure it. So many different ways. Okay? All right. Any other questions? I mean, we've covered a lot of different random things here, but I love the questions. Okay. Nothing else.
At some point in the class, I'd like to maybe try some modeling on some construction loans. Just
We're on week 5 or 6. That's what we're doing.
I'll be waiting with anticipation. Great anticipation.
Yeah, it's week 4 actually. Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, you guys are refusing to ask questions.
I guess I can ask, like, what safeguards are in place or regulations to control, you know, like foreign investment, you know, like foreign investors, and you not to get caught up with shady foreign investors?
That is a very multi-part question with a multi-part answer. One of the things that recently has been, you know, a very big issue, especially in Miami, you know, has been international investors, all cash investors, you know, buying up predominantly high-end townhomes, condos, that sort of thing, you know.
Panama Papers, all that.
Whatever, yeah. And as a means of effectively money laundering or whatever it might be with those particular. So yeah, there's an issue there that is potentially problematic. But in terms of, you know, there's also kind of on the positive side, there's the EB-5, isn't that what it's called? Where if you can invest in real estate, I think it's $500,000, and you can create so many jobs, in essence it's a pathway to citizenship. Okay, I think is it EB-5? Okay. And, you know, so that, you know, is a whole different, you know, sort of very positive sort of, you know, view of international investment, of trying to get people from, you know, a variety of countries to come in, you know, as I said, buy real estate, set up real estate, you know, develop it, create jobs, and then ultimately, as I said, get a path to citizenship.
And they get vetted, right?
Right. So, you know, those are two, you know, sort of big ones, but I don't know that we've ever really had, that I can recall, I mean, that big of an issue with like international investors as a whole coming in, buying up property within the U.S. I mean, you know, sometimes folks don't inherently like it, but to my knowledge, there haven't been just a lot of huge barriers to it by comparison to other countries, where there's a bit more concern that you're going to have, that if you don't have a local partner, they're not going to allow you to invest in real estate within that country, because they're afraid that it's going to be bought up by a lot of international investors and then somehow displace the locals in some way. I hope we answered a little bit. All right, well, instead of torturing you anymore, all right, let's go ahead and take a look and see if we can do a little quiz.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, once again, you're going to need your little spreadsheet that you created.
On this quiz, are you going to take off points, say if like negative, if it's instead of saying negative, positive, that sort of thing?
No, as long as it's the right number, that's all I'm really concerned with. You know, so here's what it is. Just to kind of I'll walk you through real quick, just so there's no questions. It's 12 questions all in all. There are a couple of potential sort of answered questions. Every single answer is a number, okay? So it's either it's right or it's wrong, okay? There's no in between. It's very binary in that respect. Now, if you did the spreadsheets as we did, and you checked everything, you should be able to finish this thing pretty quickly. Make sure you do read every single question carefully. Most of them, and people who've had me before know this, most of my questions are pretty straightforward. But then I purposely put in a couple of questions that tend to sort of separate the people who kind of sort of know it from the people who really know it, okay?
Thank you.
So, in other words, how do I distinguish between an A and a B and a C, okay? All right, so just keep that in mind as you're sort of working through this. It should be very straightforward. I don't think there's anything particularly, problematic with it. But yeah, all you need is the spreadsheet, and you're not to use your calculator for this. You're meant to use only the spreadsheet that you created. Okay, is that clear? Okay, here it comes.
I want to have a quiz every day, just like in the other class.
Probably.
Are these quizzes the entirety of our grade this semester?
Mm-hmm. Along with the spreadsheet creation, but yeah.
No pressure.
No
I
pressure.
think we need one or two more than 3 more. Yeah, I don't think.
No
Can I use
calculator,
a
right?
calculator too to compare?
Nope, just spreadsheet.
You can say. Right? Thank you, Paul.
Did Christina Gibbons show up? Yes or no? Nope. Dustin's. So I guess she's the only one who didn't show up. Christina Gibbons, not here? Not here, okay.